It began more than a century ago, a time when America was young, powerful, and still believed it controlled its own destiny. But beneath the surface, something was changing, quietly and permanently. In 1910, a small group of the most powerful bankers and politicians in the country disappeared from public sight. No press, no records. They met secretly on a private island off the coast of Georgia. An island named Jekyll. There, behind closed doors, they drafted a plan that would redefine the future of American money forever. A system that looked like it belonged to the government, but didn't. A plan that would give the illusion of control, while quietly shifting real power into private hands. 3 years later, that plan became law. It was called the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. And from that moment on, the United States no longer had full control over its own currency. The money in people's pockets, the value of their savings, the boom and collapse of the economy itself, all became influenced by a system most Americans didn't even understand. It was sold as a solution, a promise of stability after decades of financial chaos. But in truth, it was something far more permanent. A quiet transfer of power, from the people to the bankers. And the most fascinating part? It still runs exactly the same way today. The system created in 1913 was supposed to protect America from financial disasters. It promised to control inflation, prevent panics, and stabilize the economy. But over time, it did something very different. The Federal Reserve, a name that sounds government-owned, is, in reality, not fully controlled by the government. It operates independently. Its decisions aren't made by elected officials. And yet, those decisions decide the fate of the entire nation. It can create money from nothing. By pressing a few keys on a computer, the Fed can inject billions into the economy, or take them out. It can raise or lower interest rates, deciding how expensive it is to borrow money, buy homes, start businesses, or even survive. Every time the Fed acts, the ripple touches every American, from Wall Street traders to factory workers. But very few truly understand how. Over the decades, this invisible system has changed the nature of money itself. Once, every dollar represented something real, gold stored in a vault, value backed by metal. But in 1971, that connection was cut forever. When President Nixon ended the gold standard, money stopped being something you could hold and became something you could trust, or rather, were told to trust. From that moment, the dollar became fiat currency, money backed not by gold, but by government promise. It was no longer wealth, it was belief. And belief, as history shows, can be manipulated. With every crisis, 1987, 2008, and beyond, the same system that was meant to protect printed more money to survive. Each time it did, it devalued every dollar already in existence. The result? The rich got richer. The poor paid more. And inflation became the silent tax that no one voted for. The trap was set. A system so complex that even experts debate how it truly works. A structure where debt is created faster than it can ever be repaid. Where the government borrows from the system it's supposed to control, paying interest on its own money. Most people think of money as paper or numbers on a screen. But in truth, money today is debt. Every dollar in circulation was created by someone borrowing it, which means to keep the system alive, someone must always owe. And that is the real genius of the money trap. It doesn't need chains or guards. It just needs people to keep believing. For over a century, America's financial system has been built on something most people never question. Trust. Trust in paper. Trust in promises. Trust in a system that says, this is how it's always been. But when you look closer, you begin to see the illusion. Money, as we know it today, isn't wealth. It's control. It decides who gets to build, who gets to borrow, and who gets left behind. It shapes elections, wars, industries, and even dreams. Every generation is born into the same invisible cycle. Work, earn, spend, owe. We measure success not by freedom, but by credit scores. We celebrate growth, but ignore the debt that fuels it. And when the system trembles, we print more paper, calling it recovery. The truth is, this cycle doesn't end. It compounds. Each dollar created adds a little more weight to a mountain of debt that no one truly plans to repay. The US government owes trillions, but it's not just the government. It's the people. Every citizen carries a piece of that invisible burden. And yet, somehow, the illusion holds. Because as long as people believe the system works, it does. Money exists because we all agree to pretend it does. That's the brilliance and the danger. In the last few decades, digital money has taken the illusion even further. Now, the dollars we use aren't even printed. They exist as pixels on a screen. Zeros and ones moving through a global network, controlled by algorithms and decisions made behind boardroom doors. We no longer hold our money. Our money holds us. Think about it. If every American withdrew their money tomorrow, there wouldn't be enough physical cash to give them. Because it doesn't exist. It's a promise built on top of another promise, wrapped inside a story of stability. And that's what makes it so powerful. You can't fight what you can't see. You can't break free from a system you don't realize you're in. Some call it evolution. Others, enslavement. But whatever name you give it, the result is the same. A society dependent on debt. A nation run by credit. And a world spinning on the illusion of endless growth. So what happens next? Maybe one day, the illusion cracks. Maybe technology gives birth to a new form of money, digital, decentralized, untouchable by any government or bank. Or maybe the same system adapts, finding new ways to keep control. History has shown one truth. Every empire that believed it could print wealth without consequence eventually faced its reckoning. And perhaps America's will not be different. But until that day comes, the money trap remains. Silent, invisible, and stronger than ever.